wealth and a legacy that allows them to live their best life possible. Our belief, when the values of your own company align with your own beliefs, you know you found your professional home, and our vision to achieve amazing professionals and personal development so that KWSB remains the agency of choice. Give yourself a round of applause. All right, next slide, please. All right, we want to thank Sean with First American Home Warranty for lunch. She is not here, but let's give her a round of applause. Thank you, Sean. All right, next slide. All right, real quick, we want to introduce Lamar and Gina with Government Affairs. They have a quick segue they wanted to provide you as members of the local force. So welcome. Thank you. Thank you.
I've always wondered right.
You're funny, Bob.
No alternative. Okay.
So many, how many of you know about the Realtor Action Fund? I've heard of it.
I've heard of it.
You've heard of it.
Yeah.
Do you know what it does?
It helps
Do you know you're
realtors take action. Thank you. You understand.
So, Realtor Action Fund is incredibly important. And not here just to say, okay, you know, more money, more money, more money, you know, tough economy, you guys are like, great, I don't want to hear this. But I'm here to tell you how the profession is being run right now. And it's not hyperbole, it's real. There are legislative threats that have been occurring, and we know that will continue to occur. And so what Realtor Action Fund does, it pays for all of our efforts to fight these things. So yes, a portion goes nationally, a portion goes to the state, but a portion comes to us locally here directly in the South Bay to fight for our local 11 cities that are covered by our association, plus our county, which we have 2 county supervisors and our assembly and senators. So there are so many different layers of legislation. So let me just kind of give you guys a quick connection. You're like, I don't want to hear about politics. I don't like, you know, like officials. I don't hear. It's not about that. I am 100%, we are 100% about the substance and what this really means for your profession. So, tenant protections. So this year we had to do a number of red alerts. Those are all done because we have a Realtor Action Fund locally. Our red alerts because the county, remember they kept wanting to extend COVID eviction moratorium, tenant protections. You guys heard the city of LA wants to see how feasible it is to put air conditioning in every rental unit.
Sure.
At the expense of the owner. Yep. At the expense of the owner, not even talking about the demands on the infrastructure, how feasible it is, etc. Okay. Tenant Opportunity to Purchase Act. They call it TOPA. How many of you guys have heard of TOPA? Okay, so TOPA is important because the County of Los Angeles, and they're looking at it, it's not just unincorporated areas of Pueblo Gateway. It's all 88 cities. It's Torrance, Redondo, you name it. Every city, they're looking at this Tenant Opportunity to Purchase Act, TOPA. What they're looking at is essentially saying, oh, you've got clients that want to sell their home, but they've got a tenant in it. Guess what? You can't do it right now because they're going to have, they want to have, to give the tenant an ability to purchase the property first. Which, yeah, so what that means is that your folks with their own property can't do with what they want when they want with it. They're going to have to offer it, right? Which is sounds great. But as a result of that, there are all these like super long time limitations that you say you have to notify them. Then X amount of days later, you have to do this. X amount of days later, you have to do that. Months and months and months and months of not being able to do what you want with that property. Please go ahead.
So, and also on TOPA, they tried to pass this before. And some of the arguments were, well, that's great. The tenant could go ahead and try to buy this property, give them an opportunity to do it. But some of the arguments we had against it was, if a tenant can barely afford to pay the rent in that area, they're usually not going to qualify to buy that property. So the theory is, ideology, I mean, it's great, practicality is not. But now you stop the homeowner 60 to 90 days from going out to sell it, then generate it out the market. So 1 second. But then, so to fix that, they allowed certain types of entities, which are basically a lot of institutional buyers, and the same cash buyers and banks in there, to also come in and say, well, if they can't sell it to a tenant, we can come in and buy it, usually at a discount. So basically, it stops most normal buyers from being able to go in there. So us agents can't put our buyers there. We're basically shut out of the market until the larger entity or the tenant decides it can't order or don't want to buy it. So we get scraps. That's why that's important.
So this is something that the county, their staff come back, they've given them their recommendations of feasibility. It can end up on a county agenda anytime, right? So these are real things. Also, what they've done recently, we tried to fight it, is allow for paying for attorneys to help the tenants abate eviction, right? Rather,
yeah.
Go ahead.
So Holly Mitchell and Solis, two of the supervisors from LA County, and those motion and passed unanimously, I believe, back in July. And so this may go into effect, where if you serve a notice to vacate to a tenant, we as taxpayers are funding attorneys who are going to represent the tenants. So the large institutional groups, large property management companies, it doesn't impact them. They have attorneys on retainer. It affects mom and pop owners, which is approximately around 70 to 80% of all multifamily or rental owners in Southern California. So this is a direct attack on property ownership and on landlord rights. Bit of money to get the tenant out of there on top of all the rest of the headache you have. And our next speaker probably will be able to speak more to that. But these are the things, it's only $20 for the minimum. Used to be that they went by dollar volume for realtors. Now they're going by realtor participation for CAR and NAR. So it's $20. It's same as if we go buy a drink, whatever, down in Hermosa. Yeah. And this is to protect our livelihood. And these are only a couple of the key issues we're fighting. We're fighting a lot more issues other than this. There are issues where we're trying to get rid of MLS compliance, where we don't have to be on part of an MLS, which means you can have people going out there fly by nights, do whatever they want, call themselves real estate agents, and it reflects on us when they do things that are shady or do things that are unethical, and people lump us all in the same boat. We already have a bad reputation as realtors. I mean, we're rated some of the lowest, of any type of profession because of a lot of the unprofessionalism that unfortunately is in our profession. But these are the things we're fighting for. So it's $20. We put out the little flyers here. If you want to do that, she's going to take it back to board and shred it afterwards. Yeah. Okay, so your information is private and secured. That's pretty much what we're asking for people to understand more. If you want more details about some of the legislations coming up, some of the actions that are happening, how to get involved in it, even if you want to do that, you can reach out to me. You can reach out to Gina. I'm here at the office, so yeah.
Yeah. I mean, on the ballot this year in March, you're going to see ACA 1, ACA 13. These are essentially, to make a long story short, attacks on Prop 13. And it's going to be multi-million dollars worth of battles that we're going to have to do statewide. So we've got local issues, we've got state issues. On
the mansion tax too, we're trying to get that revealed.
So the mansion tax is related to what's going to be on the Prop 13 for ACA 13 and 1 in March. So it's all related. It's all related. But yes, please. So how many of you are Realtor Action Fund contributors now? Handful of you. Okay, so I'm going to be real with you. We are in a pinch because the National Association of Realtors requires us to get at least 12% of our membership, which is about 614 realtors to give to
in South Bay.
In South Bay, right? We've got 5,112 members. So right now we are literally about 36 people away from that meeting our minimum threshold. So we get our percentage of local funds. Without that, we get a very, very tiny percentage of local funds to fight the LA stuff and anything else that happens locally. So $20 today, right? It's like a coffee. Yeah. And then when you do your membership dues and you're like, what the heck is all this stuff? And you're scrolling, one of it is going to be Realtor Action Fund. Please leave that selected. So then that way, what you're going to be like, oh, I just paid something in September. Well, what you're going to, when you pay your membership dues, it's for the following year. So please, 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 I really appreciate it. So if you fill it out today, right now, and if you want to just put your credit card on there, or if you don't, somebody will call you from the real estate office, or from the association office, and get that information and run it. So,
and again, if you have any questions, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
So it's $20 a day, and then what are the membership?
So in membership, I think it gives you an option of $49. It's $49, and then it's also $148. There's different levels, right? So, on your cards,
I see that on here.
yeah, yeah. But for anything for us to count to get what we need for our local funds, it has to be like a minimum of 20 now. And then, like I said, when you do your dues billing, I believe it's $49.
Correct. Is it a month or?
No, a year. Once a year.
Once a year. I know it's annoying and nobody wants to hear about politics.
People who know me know that I don't like driving to the office because an hour drive for me. So I drove just for this. But yeah, obvious. But seriously, if you have any questions going past this too, or want to get involved, just ask me. Yeah, I'll be happy to talk about it.
I know my ears.
Yes.
Beautiful, thank you. Gina, thank you so much. Appreciate you. Lamar, thank you for making this happen. Again, this is for a good cause. It helps and supports our community, but it's also benefits us as real estate professionals. So let's give them a round of applause. Awesome, thank you. All right, it's an honor to to have these two individuals come and talk to us about the pledge, but also it's been a minute since I've had our next speaker, Dennis Blockine, as my first guest when I became the team leader here back in 2020. I think it was in January, was my first team meeting, and he was one of my first guest speakers on evictions and all the fun stuff of tenant rights. So without further ado, let's give Dennis Block a round of applause. Thank you so much for being here. All right, let me get this share. Didn't know you were going to sit next to me. Okay, the floor is all yours.
Really? That's really nice.
I'm not Bob.
Let me get this. Does somebody want this cell phone who's here? Is that yours?
Yeah, that's nice. I do that for the mere fact
Oh,
because the
let's see if that's gonna already issues. Do we have this in?
let's see.
Let's see. Oh, we didn't put it on the show. That's
On the show.
There we go. See if I can get it back. Okay, there we go. Now it's working. Oh, well, welcome everybody. So I just learned I spoke here in 2020.
Yeah, 2020. Yeah.
Did anybody hear me then?
I think so, yeah.
And you came back? Is that true?
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming out again. You're very brave, I might add. I have been in this area of law for 47 years. I started a firm. My name is Dennis Block, and I started a firm back in 1977. I can't believe I'm still doing it. I actually started my firm on a shoestring budget. I borrowed a typewriter from my best friend's father, and that was the start of my law practice. And then in 3 months, my law practice went into a tailspin because the father wanted the typewriter back. So move. IBM Selectrics, we still have some hiding someplace in the office, but we've been doing this now for 47 years. I now have a law firm that has 26 attorneys. I am so old, ladies and gentlemen, so old that 2 of those 26 attorneys are my children. That's how old I am. Now, I know the burning question that's on everybody's mind when they look at me, knowing how long I've been in practice. And of course, that burning question would have to be, how the hell do I look so good? How could that be? But the truth is, you just get up every morning at 3, you hit the gym, you get to the office at 5:30, you work through lunch, and you leave at 4. That's the definition of looking good. However, soon I think I will hang it up, but still going strong after all these years. And who knows if those little children of mine are going to be able to take this place over. But in all fairness and in all seriousness, as our last speaker was talking about, we have upheaval in the state of California, and certainly in LA County, and more specifically, even in the city of Los Angeles. The spread of rent control is a cancer, and it just keeps spreading. You've got crazy cities that have rent control. We all know about Los Angeles and Santa Monica and maybe West Hollywood, but Cudahy has rent control. It's 2 square miles. What the hell do they need that for? You're out of the town before you can even think about it. You've got, that's true, you got Culver City, you got Pasadena, you've got Glendale. All these cities, it's just like cancer that it keeps multiplying. There it is. Thank you very much. So let's see, what do we got here? I'm going to talk a lot today about the do's and don'ts of property ownership and how you can avoid major mistakes. And if you are having a problem with your tenant and you want to excise them from your building, what do you need to do that? Right now, property owners are truly under an assault in the city of Los Angeles. For example, the wonderful city council and the mayor, both past and present, expected landlords to go without income for 4 years. How's that possible? 4 years. Can you imagine, as a broker, you sell the property and escrow closes and they tell you, you know, you're going to get your money. No problem. It's there in 4 years. But that's what they told landlords. And they expected landlords to individually support someone else. It's one thing when you talk about social welfare, right? Social welfare, where all the populace through our tax dollars help those that are truly in need. But when you're talking about what happened during the COVID years, you had one person supporting another person. It's as if landlords gained a bunch of new children. I too have to support my children, even if they're attorneys, I'm still supporting them. But God knows you don't want to support your tenants. But that's what we were faced with. And the same thing is true for the concept of rent control. Well, there's rent gouging and we need to have protection. Well, first of all, there's no such thing as rent gouging. That doesn't exist. If a client wants to list his $1 million home with you and he says, I want to list it, but only for $2 million, he's crazy and you're crazy to take the listing because there's no way it's going to sell. Because things, believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, sell for what they sell for. It's called the free economy. It's called what the basis of what our country was founded upon. People think the Pilgrims came here for religious freedom. That's not true. They had religious freedom when they went from England to the Netherlands. They came to this country for economic freedom. And what they meant by economic freedom was the right to own land. And every single bill that we see passed now is against landlords and trying to make landlords lose their property, as our last speaker was talking about. So we see this time and time again. There's a new bill that's going to be on the November ballot in 2024, trying to get away with Costa-Hawkins. Costa-Hawkins, which was passed back in 1995, is one of the few bills that support landlords. That bill says that you can't have limitations on rent. There's no rent control for homes, single-family homes, townhomes, and condominiums. or newer property. And it also did one thing else. It stated that, and this is like, I can't believe you even need protection for this, but if a tenant moves from your property and the place is vacant, shouldn't you at least be able to sell it? I mean, rent it for what it's worth? Well, Costa-Hawkins guaranteed that. Well, this is now going to be on the ballot in 2024. I forget the name of it, like the Tenant Protection Act or some craziness. And if that passes, you're going to see all these little cancerous municipalities are going to say, you know what, even though you're only getting $650 for this one-bedroom apartment, we'll let you raise it 10%. So you'll get a whopping $65. Did I move something?
No. People on Zoom say they can't hear, but I have the audio on. Sorry about that.
Let's see if I go back to where I'm supposed to go. Okay. So
I can hear fine.
Okay, thank you.
That's kind of my tricky voices there. That's kind of my sermon with regard to the attack on us. And the way we beat the attack is, number one, by voting, by telling our friends, and also by taking advantage of every possible law that you can take advantage of. You know, if your property is at market level, they can't hurt you. They just can't. Because if they give you severe rent control, your property's there, they're going to give you 3% more, you're okay with it, okay? But if your property is below market value, you've got a major problem. So right now, tell your friends, tell anybody, whatever you have the right to raise rent, even if it's a paltry amount, you need to raise your rent to market value. Whenever you can do it, or at least the maximum that the local municipality, like LA County, unincorporated areas of LA County, after all these years of not being able to evict, they just allowed landlords with no rent increases. They just allowed landlords a 3% rent increase. 3%, ladies and gentlemen. The city of Los Angeles, you haven't been able to raise your rent on RSO properties, those properties subject to the rent stabilization ordinance, since March of 2020. But in February of 2023, the city ended their state of emergency. Well, can I raise my rent now? No. Why? Oh, you can't raise your rent until February of 2024. So they're expecting landlords again to go 4 years without a rent increase. And during those times, those 4 years, was there, I don't know, something called inflation? Did you hear about that? Did things go up? You ever try to get a plumber? Huh? To your building, what it costs now for it? Real estate, no, I think you guys have stayed the same. However, the property values have gone up, so actually your percentage is higher. But everything goes up, except if you are something, that evil party called income property owners. We are made out like evil parties by the media, by our politicians. Well, the politicians, it's really simple. Why do they do this? Because there's more tenants than landlords. It doesn't cost them any money to take the money out of your pocket. But that's what we're faced with. And that's why we have come up with some very clever things in our practice. During the pandemic, we did hundreds of evictions when we couldn't do evictions. We kept coming up with loopholes. And then, of course, the city would then patch it up. You know, they got the spackle out and patched up our things. We called it anti-Dennis Block laws. Even in Pasadena, which passed rent control measure H, if you go into the actual ordinance in Pasadena, I haven't even gotten to my topic yet. If you go into the actual ordinance of Pasadena and you go to subsection Y, the letter Y, it says, and prominent attorney Dennis Block at a Pasadena convention urged everybody to raise their rent in 2019. Well, yeah, because now you started rent control. So I had many clients who called me and people who were there at this Pasadena Convention Center when I gave a speech said, oh my God, you were so right. So I actually have prominent mention in the rent control statute for Pasadena. Okay, let's talk about some tricks and traps that they get us on. If you buy income property or you change management of that income property, you have an obligation under the law to tell each and every one of your tenants in writing that there's been a management or an owner change. You have to give a name of a person who the owner is or who the agent is. And you have to have a physical address. You can't do that PO box. There have to be an address where people can actually serve you with a notice or serve you with legal process. That means a lawsuit. Okay. But I don't want my name known. I don't want that my address out. We understand that. Then you got to appoint somebody like your brother. You probably don't like him anyway, who will have an address where they can deliver to the brother, right? If they get them, who cares? You get more money from your parents, right? So you have to have an actual name. You like that one? You have to have an actual name, and you have to tell them times when payment can be made, and you have to tell them where rent is paid, which could be the same place where legal notices could be served. So let's pretend you change ownership and you've had the building now for a year. And then after a year, this tenant who knows your name, knows your phone number, knows your address, and he stops paying rent. Okay. So you start with a 3-day notice, you hire this good-looking firm, right? And we get to court, and all of a sudden he has to say through his free attorney, as they were talking about, that I never got an ownership change. Well, under California law, if you don't serve an ownership change, you're not allowed to collect rent. Yeah. So that's a good one. I know the association, the Realtor Association, has a change of ownership form. Use it, because that would be, it complies with the law. As soon as you change, or if you change management companies, serve that form on every tenant. And this is a state law for the state of California. Let's move on. Everybody got that one down? Don't mess up on that one.
When you serve each tenant, how do you provide proof? That
You can do it with a proof of mailing, but as long as you mail it, you're okay. Let's see. Where am I here?
One back.
One back. Oh, I gotta go 2 back. This one's not working that well. Yeah, that's a good one. Okay. If your property is subject to statewide rent control, sorry. Okay. People say, well, my property's in Torrance. Torrance doesn't have rent control. Hawthorne doesn't have rent control. Redondo Beach doesn't have. Every city in the state of California has rent control. It's called statewide rent control, AB 1482. And if you are under statewide rent control, you have to have good cause to evict, and you have something called rent control, rent limitations. Okay. So how do you know if you're under statewide rent control? Well, it's very simple. If you have a local municipality that has rent control, then you're under their statute. So like Los Angeles and Santa Monica and Culver City and the Long Beach, all these ones, San Pedro, which is really part of the city of Los Angeles, so it's under LA rent control. Wilmington, all these, but then you're under theirs. But if you're not, and you have a civilized city, that's Redondo Beach or where we're standing right now, then you're under statewide rent control. Under statewide rent control, currently, you're allowed to immediately, if you haven't done so already, remember I told you about raising rents, raise your rent 8.8%. The way they get that figure is it's 5% plus the CPI as calculated in April of each year, and which is allowed as of August following that April. I'm sure that made a lot of sense. But this year, the CPI is 3.8%. Add that to the 5, it works out to be 8.8%. There's a maximum of 10% under state law. There are some exceptions to state law, and that is if it's a single family unit, a townhouse, or a condominium. And one that I don't have there is if the property was built in the last 15 years. So this would be a property like in Torrance with no local rent control, but it is a multi-unit building, but not a single family unit, townhouse, or condominium. There is an exception to the state law that if your property is owned by a corporation or a real estate investment trust called a REIT, then you then are under rent control. You don't get that, quote, exception under the single family townhouse or condominiums. There's another law called Costa-Hawkins, and that law puts statewide rent control to shame, because that law says, even if I have a corporation that owns this house, well, under statewide rent control, you're subject to statewide rent control, which means 8.8%. But Costa-Hawkins, may it live for forever, states the following, that there shall, notwithstanding any other law, you can raise rent to market value for a townhouse, a condominium, or a single family residence. And when I say single family residence, I'm talking about one house on the lot, period. I always say to my clients, is it a single family residence? Oh yeah, this is a single family residence. They go, you sure? Yes. And then we get into the conversation and they say, oh, there's two houses on the lot. Okay, so single means one house. That's why they call it single. You got it? Okay. So if it is, that's an exception. You can raise the rent. Technically, though, you would be under statewide rent control, you need good cause to evict. So even with that single family home or condo, you have to, if it is under that, let's pretend it's owned by a corporation, you would still have to have good cause to evict, though you're not limited by rent limitations, okay? Also, in order to gain that exemption, because it's a single family home, a townhouse, and a condominium, you have to have language in your rental agreement that states this property is not subject to statewide rent control. I know it's in the realtor lease agreements, which are excellent. So make sure you use that. And more important, make sure if it's a single family home that you check the box, because we see the language there, but you didn't check the box that this property is exempt from statewide rent control. So even though, in my shallow opinion, you can still raise the rent to whatever you like, even if it's a corporation, even if you didn't have the language, you are subject to good cause eviction. Okay, let's move on. Maybe I can pick it. It's not going. Okay, so if you're under statewide rent control, you need to have reasons to evict. So what are those reasons? Obviously, non-payment of rent, a violation of the rental agreement. Let's pretend, for example, the rental agreement says no pets, and they bring in a small Shetland pony. Okay, that would be grounds to evict. You would serve a 3-day notice to perform or quit. And then at the end of the 3 days, you would file your lawsuit if the Shetland pony was still there, correct? Correct?
Yes.
Correct.
Wrong. See, every time I try to get you to go one way, remember, go the other way, okay? Under this crazy state law, once you serve a 3-day notice to perform or quit, you then, and they still have the dog there or the Shetland pony or the kangaroo, you need to serve a 3-day notice to quit. What? I got to serve a 3-day notice to perform or quit, then I got to serve a 3-day notice to quit? Yes. And then you can file your lawsuit. Makes no sense. Why do they do this? And I'll say this many times today. They do this for landlords to lose their cases. That's the reason. They put these crazy little laws in, and you're going to see them coming. You can't believe what's coming. But they put these crazy laws in for one purpose only, so that every landlord goes to court, and these tenants attorneys that they got for free who think they're so smart, but they just know all the, what we call the gotchas, all the little tricks, and the landlord falls down on his face. So don't forget that you have to serve, if you're serving a notice to perform or quit, you need to serve a following with a 3-day notice to quit. Other ones you can evict under statewide rent control is if the guy's creating a nuisance, screaming, yelling, urinating out the window. I don't know what these people do, but they just do it. We can evict for that. That would be a 3-day notice to quit. You can evict for a family member move-in. Has to be a close family member, like a grandparent, parent, yourself, your spouse, your children, and your grandchildren. All those can move in. Or if you're going to do substantial renovation, which is the one we use the best here. And first of all, if you're going to have a family member move in or you're going to do substantial renovation, you have to pay relocation for those. Relocation is a whopping 1 month's rent, so it's not too bad. And you can do it as a credit that on the last month, you don't pay me, and that's your relocation. So try to hold them to the end because we got a lot to go, and I'll answer questions at the end. So if you wanted a close family member to move in, you could serve a notice on them with the proper language. You tell them that the second month is free. if it's a 60-day notice, and goodbye. And then you really got to have them move in. If they don't move in, you got a problem. You're going to get sued for wrongful eviction. And some law firm's going to charge you $25,000 and $500 an hour, and you're going to be crying. So if you're going to say you're going to have that family member move in, have the family member move in. The same thing as substantial renovation. That's the best. If you're suffering under statewide rent control and the 8.8% does not make you feel warm and fuzzy, you want a bunch more. You inherited this from somebody who knew nothing what they were doing, and the rents were so low. It was a $1,100 ocean view apartment in Redondo Beach. Oh my God, shoot me with a gun at this point. So, and I have no way of getting him out. He pays his rent on time. The little bastard acts like Mother Teresa. No noise, no problems. I mean, and I don't have a family member to move in. What the hell am I going to do? Substantial renovation. What is substantial renovation? That's where you are going to renovate the unit. The work has to take at least 30 days to complete and requires that you obtain a building permit. You don't have to do this before you kick the guy out, but after, though some municipalities do require that. But you can first kick them out, then get yourself a building permit, like an electrical or a plumbing permit, and make sure that the work is going to take longer than 30 days to complete. So if you're going to kick out Mother Teresa from that Redondo Beach apartment, she's very popular, that Mother Teresa. If you're going to kick her out, and make sure that you're going to like redo the kitchen, redo the bathroom, get yourself your permit. Now, if you get a contractor, okay, who's going to pull the permits for you, he says, oh yes, we need permits for this. Yes, I want to do the bathroom and I want to do the kitchen. And the contractor says, but it's only going to take 20 days. So in that situation, what you do is you get yourself another contractor. Because you need a contractor that's going to take longer than 30 days. You need to get Mr. Slowpoke. I know, but just I'm trying to make my point. It's got to take longer than 30 days. And these little people will come back and they'll check whether you did the work or not. And you want to do the work because quite frankly, the place looks like a slum anyway if it was so low rent. So you're probably going to do it anyway. So do it. And this way you get to raise the rent to market value. Let's take a look. One more.
$5,000.
You're trying to shut one pony to their door.
Yeah, I think we went too far. I think we need sort of, let's say, places. Okay. I think I've exhausted statewide rent control. Let's move over to the imbeciles that run the city of Los Angeles. That would be the current mayor, the past mayor, everybody on the city council. This is just a total theft of our property. Now, we all knew that, you know, I have a single family home in Los Angeles, the city, talking city proper, or I have a brand new built, a relatively new building. That's one built after October 1st, 1978. So I'm not under LA rent control, okay? And I bought this building and I knew I bought this building for a good reason. Or even I have a single family home. Single family homes are not under rent stabilization ordinance for the city of Los Angeles. So this is what the city council did. They put so much pain on landlords, starting with March of 2020 over something called the pandemic, which maybe lasted 1 year, but for the city's point of view, let's just create havoc on landlords. So they wouldn't allow you to evict a tenant for non-payment of rent or for almost anything, extra people, pets. You couldn't do any eviction. They expected you just to suffer. That's what it was, just to suffer for that period of time. So finally, people are saying, hey, the pandemic's over. The pandemic, everybody's back at work. So of course, they kept it going another couple of years. Finally, they did a study with their city manager. And the city manager said, you know, the pandemic's over, you know? And everybody wearing a mask here? No, see? Pandemic's over. So then the city council, by their own commission, said, okay, we have to end it. So that was like, they did this survey in December, so of course, of 2022. So finally, January? No, they stretched it to February of 2023 is when they stretched it to. So finally, it's over. They still won't let us do a rent increase. But at least now we could start evicting for non-payment of rent, or I could get my home back. You know, I want to sell, for God's sakes. And it's a home. Now I can do an eviction, right? Right?
Yeah.
Wrong. See, you got it this time. No, because they started something. Well, I'm saying, yes, you still have your house. You can still raise the rent. But let's pretend, ladies and gentlemen, that there's a tenant in possession and the homeowner wants to give you the listing. And your position is, well, we got to get the tenant out. I got to stage the place. It's going to look terrible with that tenant there with all his beer cans, right? So and he's on a month-to-month. Perfect. Single family home, not under rent control. Everything I'm saying is correct. So we're going to serve a single family. We're going to serve a 60-day notice and you're gone, right? No, because the city of Los Angeles started something called, they had RSO, that was the rent stabilization ordinance. Then they started something called JCO. What are all these initials? It's ridiculous. JCO stands for the Just Cause Ordinance.
Just cause?
Just cause, or in other words, you need just cause to evict anyone. You need just cause to evict any residential unit in the city of Los Angeles. Are you kidding me? No, you need just cause. Well, I have a great just cause. I own this house, just gave it to that pretty broker over there, and I want the tenant to move. That's good cause. No, that's not good cause that you want to sell your house. But I'm planning on moving to Texas or Idaho or some civilized place to own property. Certainly not the state of California. But you can, that's not a reason. So what are the reasons? What do I hit? Enter button? Return?
Yeah.
Okay. So you do need good cause. We're going to get to the good cause, but let's first talk about this since it's in the, we didn't pass one, did we?
No.
Okay. Let's go back to 5. No? Okay. Let's go to 6. Thank you. There we go. So the city, I'm going to get into the reasons why, but since this is on the screen. So the city of Los Angeles, in a way of creating more harm for landlords, talked about something called the threshold. The threshold. And by the way, unincorporated areas of LA County, which Torrance has a little area that's unincorporated in case you didn't know. You have to have the threshold. What the hell is a threshold? Do you know what a threshold is? No, I don't even know what it's, no. Here's what a threshold is. A threshold is that the tenant, now I can do an eviction. Okay, I can't ask you to move, but I can at least do an eviction for non-payment of rent, right? So I have this 1-bedroom apartment. It's going for $1,700. So I'm going to serve a 3-day notice. You didn't pay me September's rent. It's $1,700. It's a 1-bedroom. Here's your 3-day notice. You didn't pay me. Then I'm going to go to where, what am I going to do next? No, don't ever mess this up. You're faced with this again. What are you going to do next? You're going to go call Dennis Block. Why do you think I got my brochures there? My 800 number displayed. What the hell? Okay, so then you're going to come to call me up, and then I'm going to say I can't take your case. Why? Los Angeles didn't pay rent. Moratorium's over. The city couldn't create more stress for me, could they?
Yes.
Yes, because they have something called the threshold. You can't serve a 3-day notice unless your amount, the total in the 3-day notice exceeds the threshold. So my rent was $1,700 for a 1-bedroom. This is $1,747. Oh my God, how do I ever collect the rent? Well, you got to wait for month 2. So in other words, the city is making you wait, and this is true for unincorporated areas of LA County, the city is making you wait another month. Well, that's crazy. What if my rent is $1,500, okay, for a 1-bedroom apartment, and the guy gives me $200 a partial payment? So, hey, $200, you know, got to go to Mastro's, right? So I get my $200, and now he owes me $1,300. Of course, I can't do it. Okay. What if I gave him, for the example which I kind of blew, what if I gave him $1,400. So now I only owe $100. And then next month comes along, 1,500 plus 1, that's 1,600. That's below the threshold. So I still can't. I'd have to wait for the next month. So the trick is, number one, don't take a partial payment of rent. Because if you take a partial payment of rent, month 2, the guy's going to sit there forever. And in fact, if you think about it, the City Council of Los Angeles has approved that you can pay rent at least 28 days late every single month. And there's nothing you could do with it. Because if my rent's $1,500, I'm below the threshold, I got to wait for the next month. But what if on the 28th of the month, the guy comes with $1,500? Well, I kind of got to take it at that point. He's paying me the full rent, right? And then he could wait another 28 days. So this is insanity of making landlords wait for their money after they waited for their money for 4 years. Insanity. But it gets worse. How could it get worse? Really, honestly. Well, let's take that concept of Section 8. Section 8, my rent is $1,800 for that 1-bedroom apartment. I'm above the threshold, ladies and gentlemen. This is so exciting.
Isn't it? It really is.
However, for Section 8 pays $1,600 and the tenant pays $200. Well, I'm going to get my rent from Section 8 every single month like clockwork, but then it's $200. He owes me, can I serve a 3-day notice? No. Why? Because the threshold is 1747. 1747. So how long do I got to wait? 9 months. 9 months. Because if he doesn't pay me for 9 months, 9 times 2 is 1,800. Now I'm above the threshold. The city council knew this. They talked about this when they were formulating this piece of garbage plan. And they said, we don't care. So you can't do it. But I came up with an idea just yesterday.
What is it? What is it?
I always come up with something. A landlord does not have to accept a partial payment of rent.
Right.
So if the Section 8 pays me the $1,600 and I wait towards the end of the month and I don't have my full rent, I am going to mail back the money to the city because it's only Section 8, it's only a subsidy. The tenant is responsible, but I'm sending it back saying, I'm sorry, I'm not accepting your rent, Section 8, because I don't want to take a partial payment. So send Section 8 monies back and then serve on the tenant a notice for the full amount of rent. Because I didn't get it from Section 8, I'm entitled to the full month. That hasn't been tested, by the way, but it was an idea. It's an idea that I came up with. Who knows? You've got these, what are they called? Oh, I know, liberal judges. So that we try to get around. So anyway, so that's the story with the threshold in the city of Los Angeles. It's just another thing that they just instituted as soon as the moratorium was over. So just putting more pressure on landlords for no particular reason. We're going to like that. Did that do it? I think I'm getting good at this.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's another one that they did. These are all the little gotchas. In the city of Los Angeles and in a lot of other municipalities, I might add, like Culver City, Pasadena, unincorporated Israeli County, but certainly in the city of Los Angeles, if you serve a beautiful 3-day notice on your tenants for rent, and it's above the threshold, you've got everything filed perfectly, you go to court, you lose. Why? Why did I lose? Because you have an obligation within 3 days of the service of the notice to send a copy of that notice to the city on their form. What's their form look like? Oh, you're getting good at this. Oh my God, you got it going. So you've got to fill out this form and you got to send it into the city. Now this form is online and you can upload your 3-day notice because it's got to go with the 3-day notice. But if you don't do that, you lose your case. Who's going to know this? No one. That's why, you know, it's impossible even to serve a 3-day notice now. I'm not trying to tell you to hire an attorney from the 3-day notice, but literally, unless you're taking great notes today, you're going to lose your case. But so we have it where you can go online, fill out that form, upload your 3-day notice and send it in. So my firm has never done that. Never, not even once. Why? How are you doing all these cases? Hundreds per month. Well, we mail it in. And why? Because I don't want to do the city's work. You see, if you upload the form with all that information, the city doesn't have to do a damn thing. It's there. They can just check their own database that you help them do it. So we send in on a daily basis, I don't know, 30, 40 notices to the city in one big envelope by certified mail. Anybody needs a certified mail for any particular date? Call me. I got it and it's good, ready to go. You give me a date, I can get that in. And the reason why I do that is because I don't want to do the city's work and I want to make it more difficult for them. So then I was reading in the LA Times, somewhat of a rag newspaper, that the city is behind like 6,000-7,000 notices that have been sent in. And then then these newspapers say, oh, the landlord served 50,000 notices in the month of March to get rid of that. Well, of course, you wouldn't let us do anything for 4 years. What do you think we're going to do now? And you're making out like the bastard landlords. 50,000 eviction, well, for what? You know, why don't you ask the Time writer whether he wants to go without his salary for 4 years and see how he feels with that. But anyway, you have to do this form. We're ready for the next one. Okay, now we're going to get into the reasons that you can evict under JCO. That's property that's not under RCO, under the rent stabilization, but properties that are under JCO. Remember, JCO, Just Cause Ordinance, are those properties that were built after October 1st, 1979, single-family homes, townhouses, and condominiums. If you're there, it requires, let's see, good cause to terminate. You do need good cause to terminate. There is one trick, though. In the city of Los Angeles, you don't need good cause to evict if the tenancy is less than 6 months. And for that reason and for other reasons, come as a little bit of a surprise, never rent out a unit now on a 1 year or a 6 month lease. Just do month to month. Because if the guy is, you know, these people, when you rent to them, I don't know what it is. They're going through the application process and they seem so damn nice, right? I mean, oh my God, I love this place. Oh no, you don't have to clean the cobwebs. I'll take care of it. Yo, your hair is so beautiful. No, I don't care. Who needs a garbage? And they get in. The second the ink is on the contract, I want this done. I want that. Total malcontents. They're calling you every week. There's always one in every building. Always one. This one hasn't called me in 9 months. This one, nice, this, that. There's always this one person. So you have no way of getting rid of him on a 1 year lease. Okay. So right now I'm recommending for statewide rent control 2, you don't have to have good cause to evict if they're there less than 1 year. So for 6 months in LA. So within the 6 month period, you're going to figure it out that the guy's no good, even if he's paying the rent. So right now, ladies and gentlemen, 6 months only. Okay. For the city of Los Angeles, for just cause ordinance, you can evict, obviously, for non-payment of rent, for violations of the rental agreement, like that Shetland pony I talked about. Nuisance, that would be the guy who has a very small methamphetamine lab in the living room. It's a small, that would be considered a nuisance. Illegal purpose, like, the woman who's making tamales and selling them on the street, because this is supposed to be for residential purposes. Denial of access, they never let you in. They go call building and safety, you get cited for an order to comply, and then they don't let you in. Their little joke, okay, on you. Though we have ways around that. And finally, the unapproved subtenant we can evict for. Unapproved subtenant is where you rent to A and B, they're your tenants, they're on the rental agreement, and they bring in C. Well, during the pandemic, you couldn't even get rid of any unauthorized persons. They bring in C, you don't care. And then all of a sudden, A and B move out and C's there. So as long as you haven't taken rent from C, you have the right to start an eviction against C because he's not my tenant. I don't know from him. He's never paid me any rent. Okay. Okay. They have no fault evictions under JCO, and that is where you want to the owner wants to move in, or a family member or a resident manager. By the way, they just changed the law in the city of Los Angeles that you could put a resident manager. I could ask a tenant to move because I need a resident manager. I mean, I need a resident manager under California law. You have to have a resident manager if it's 16 or more units. Okay. Well, the city just changed it. Now, unless your building is 16 or more, you can't evict the tenant to have a resident manager. So can you imagine you're an old infirm person, right? Like me, and you can't manage your own building. It's 8 units, and I want to have a resident manager there. You can't evict the tenant for that now. But that would be one reason. You're always allowed to demolish the building. That's always a good one. Where you're going to, under the Ellis Act, don't laugh, under the Ellis Act, you're going to demolish and you're going to put up brand new 6-unit condominiums with subterranean parking. Okay. So that's always a good one, that you're going to permanently remove the use from rental housing use. Compliance with a governmental order. That would be where you rented out that illegal unit and they caught you. So now you have to evict the tenants. Or if you're going to do substantial renovation, kind of like what we talked about for under statewide rent control. But for these reasons, and you can't evict, as I told you, that single family home because you want to sell. That's not a good reason to evict. If you're going to use one of those reasons, you have to actually fill out an application process with the city. You got to pay the city their due, like $800-900 in administrative fees. Just another money grab in case you didn't know. And then you're going to have to pay relocation money to the tenants. Relocation? Is it that 1 month thing you talked about? No. Now we got to switch it. Thank you so much. If he wasn't here, this whole seminar would be in the toilet, right? Okay, so here is the relocation fees. If it's a single family dwelling, it's only 1 month. That's okay. But let's pretend that you want to put a family member in, and it's what they call a qualified tenant. A qualified tenant is somebody who is over 62 or has minor children or is handicapped. So in that situation, if they've been there longer than 3 years, it's $22,950. By the way, this is in your package, by the way, so you don't have to take a picture. 22,000. If they've been there less than 3 years.
Dennis, this is only for the city of Los Angeles.
This is the city of Los Angeles where we are right now. Less than 3 years would be 19,400. If you're just an eligible tenant, in other words, you're not old, you don't have children, and you're not handicapped. If you've been there longer than 3 years and you buy this duplex that's brand new, so it's not under LA rent control, but it's under LA JCO, the Just Cause Ordinance, and you bought it by USC because you wanted your beautiful daughter to move into this duplex. It's the only reason why you paid the big down payment. You're paying the mortgage payments, you're paying your taxes, you're paying the maintenance. And I got to pay you $12,050 for my own daughter to move into the place? And the answer is yes, unless the person's over 62. Then it's going to be $22,950. And if the person is, oh my God, over 62 and has been there for 10 years, you can't evict for a family member move-in. What? So if you buy this duplex in the city of Los Angeles because you wanted your daughter to move in close to USC, but there are 2 tenants in each of those 2 units, and they each over 62, and they've been there longer than 10 years, you might as well sell the place, okay? Unless you have a gun. Then go over there, just do the business, drag them out. If you're going to kill somebody, don't do it inside the units. Because then you're going to have to announce to any tenants, right, or any future purchasers that someone died in the unit. Drag them out to the grass. I'm serious. shoot them, then you can, the cleanup is just with a garden hose. It's simple. Okay, so that's our relocation. Let's move on. Thank you so much. Under JCO, can you raise the rent? Well, the answer is yes, of course. If your property if your property is under JCO, but let's pretend it was a newer building or a single family, actually just start with a newer building, then you'd be under statewide rent control if the building was more than 15 years old, but newer than 1979. So you'd be under statewide rent control. That would be 8.8% rent increase currently. By the way, if you do raise rent, let me move on to, if it's a single family home or a condo or a townhouse, you have unlimited rent, unlimited. Even if you're in the city of Los Angeles, I don't care what the problem is, you can go to market value. By the way, there is no such thing as a 60-day notice to increase rent. It's either a 30-day or a 90-day. 30-day notice to increase the rent is if you're going to raise the rent 10% or less. If you're going more than 10%, it's got to be a 90-day notice, and add another 5 days for mailing, by the way. Okay. So if I have a single family home, I'm not under rent control. I can't sell the damn place because I can't make you move. So I'm just going to raise the rent. I could raise it to any amount. Now you can't really raise it to $50,000 a month where the guy's only paying $2,000 because it's going to look like you're indirectly trying to evict them. So, and as the law professor once told me 48 years ago, the law is not an ass. Okay. So if you're really trying to do something indirectly, they're going to look through that. But you can get on the multiples to find out what the rental value is. I use a wonderful website called Rent-O-Meter. That's R-E-N-T-O meter, METER.com, or some people call it rentometer. And it'll tell you exactly, I go to the maximum there so you can justify it. And you serve that 90-day notice, and the tenant can either pay it or he's going to have to move, right? But then what did the city do? Did they do something else? Time for a change. Oh my God, the city came up with this chart. I'd love to see the guy who named this chart. I don't know, I would love to see him. He names the chart the 2023 Economic Displacement Relocation Assistance per Bedroom Size. Who the hell would make a chart with that name? You'd have to be crazy. So what does that mean? What the hell does that mean? So I have this home. It's $2,500. I want to raise it to market level. I went to Rent-O-Meter. It said $4,500. I see all the houses around are going for $45,000. Mine actually has a pool and a jacuzzi. It's better. $4,500. So you raise it. That's going to be what, close to 100% rent increase. And the tenant says, I can't afford that. I'm going to have to leave. Okay, great. Except for one thing. The tenant then says, where's my money? What money? Well, the tenant says, haven't you seen the 2023 Economic Displacement Relocation Assistance per Bedroom Size? Haven't you seen that? I go, what the hell is that? Well, if it's a single family home, it's only 1 month's rent. But if it's a 3-bedroom apartment, you got to pay $10,075 because I raised the rent more than 10%. By the way, this is totally illegal. It is unconstitutional. It flies in the face of Costa-Hawkins, which says unlimited rent increases. And if you're saying I have to pay you to move, then it's not an unlimited rent increase. There's already a lawsuit that's already filed by the Apartment Association of Greater Los Angeles. And they have a few lawsuits going that will hopefully bankrupt the city when they have to pay landlords back the money. But then if they're bankrupt, then how are they going to pay it back anyway? So all they'll do is, they'll raise taxes. You know, I had a office building in Valley Village in the San Fernando Valley, in case you don't know where that is. And the city of Los Angeles has a gross receipts tax. Gross receipts. Doesn't matter that you made no profit. If you take in $10, even if you paid $10 for the object that you sold, you made nothing. You have to pay gross receipts tax, which is about 1.25%, 1.5%. So they were killing me every year And then they would audit me every year. I'm paying 6 figures to the stupid city, right? So I said I had enough of this. So I moved 8 minutes to the east. And I moved to a beautiful city. You know what the city's called? Burbank. I moved 8 minutes to the east. I'm in this beautiful city. I go into the city hall because I needed a business license. Beautiful. You could eat off the floor. I walked into the bathroom. It's better than my bathroom. I mean, it's just beautiful. And they said, we'll call your number. They call my number in 1 minute. Hi, how can we help you? It was unbelievable, the service. You don't know how bad the services are in Los Angeles. Then we called up because you're moving into a building, right? So you have more trash. So I said, I think I need another trash. So we call up. I have somebody on the phone within 2 minutes. I say, hi, I need another pickup. They go, no problem. What day and time would you like us to be there?
Damn.
This is Burbank. Now, I don't know about Torrance, but I'm telling you, Burbank is a wonderful place. I don't know how I got onto this subject, but how did I get onto this subject? Oh, we were talking about economic displacement, and the city's just going to raise taxes like they did with the mansion tax, right? Which is another money grab. That's all this is. It's a money grab. How do other states do it where they don't even have state taxes? How do they do it? Okay, because they're well managed. And it has something to do with red versus blue, but I don't want to get into that because you guys might not like me. Okay, I think we've had enough with this. Let's move on. Okay. So, and by the way, in the 3-day notice, you have to write how many bedrooms so that they know, and this is in the city of Los Angeles and also in the county. You have to write how many bedrooms. Therefore, we just put it into all of our notices now because they have to know whether you're below the threshold or not. But let's pretend you did a beautiful notice. You had it perfectly done. You sent it into the city, right? Okay. You start your eviction case and you lose. Why? Because there's another trap. You have to have every residential unit in the city of Los Angeles has to have a sign posted. Time to change. Oh, you're beating me to that. That's good. You have to have a sign posted on the property. I don't care that it's a new building. I don't care that it's a single family residence. I don't care that it's a condo. In a conspicuous spot on the property, you have to have this stupid sign posted. If you don't, you lose your case. This is one of those gotchas. So make sure you have this sign posted. Can it be like by the mailbox or in the laundry room? But where am I going to post it in a condo? I don't own the condominium thing. Am I supposed to put it by its first store? Well, put it in the lobby someplace if there is a lobby, or by the mailboxes, take a picture. Somebody rips it down, at least you have a picture of it. But what about that software executive with that beautiful startup company who is having to rent a Brentwood house for $85,000 a month? And you're so happy as a landlord. He's so happy as this executive. He gets to impress all of his friends when he comes in. It's a startup, you know? And as you shake hands and the landlord's leaving the property, he turns and with glue sticks that on the front door. You think the tenant's going to like it? The answer is no, but it's got to be posted. I got to comply with those people from City Council of Los Angeles. So this sign has to be posted. We're talking about the city of Los Angeles, and it has to be posted on every residential unit. Is there another one? I think we might be at the end. One more? You get my logo? Oh, you get my logo. So that basically does it. If you have any questions, I'll take a few before I'm going to hit the road. Jack? Yes.
To clarify that last notice, we post it at all times or only when you
Post it at all times. Take a picture of it. If you see it ripped down, put it back up because the tenants will rip it down and pretend, oh, it wasn't posted and I'm going to win my case with that. Yes, sir.
For the substantial renovation, is it pretty, I know you went over the statewide rent control. Does that vary?
It does vary. For the city of Los Angeles, for JCO properties, you can't do it for RSO properties that are under rent control. But you have to, LA is different, where prior to serving the notice on the tenant, you have to go through an application process with the city. You have to have your permits done, and you have to have, quote, the scope of the work by a contractor, by somebody showing what they're going to do and why it's going to be uninhabitable for 30 days. Long Beach has that too. Culver City has that too. There's a lot of places that have that. So
that 30-day applies still though, pretty much throughout.
Well, 30 or 60, depending on how long the tenant's been there. But you've got to go through that application process.
What happened, for example, if they put a three-day notice, they put the date, but they give it to the tenant like 3 days after or 4 days after.
Okay, the date that's on the notice has nothing to do with anything. That's just the date you prepared it. The 3 days counts from when you serve it, when the tenant is served. If you post it one day and mail it the other day, the next day, that means it was completed the next day. And you got 3 days. 3 days to pay the rent, except, and this has to be contained in your notice, except Saturday, Sundays, and judicial holidays, not legal, judicial holidays, which is more pervasive than legal holidays. So if I serve a notice on Thursday, the tenant has till Tuesday to pay the rent. But Thursday is day 0, Friday is day 1, and then Monday is 2, and Tuesday is 3, okay? And you can serve a notice on any day of the week, but you can't serve a notice when rent is due. You have to serve a notice when rent is delinquent. So if rent is due on the 1st, and the 1st is a Saturday, it's not really due until Monday, and I can't serve the notice until Tuesday. But if it's if the 1st turns out to be a Friday, I can serve it on Saturday. And then I always ask this question: what if rent in this example, I'll just take a weird example. Let's pretend that rent is due, let's just pick a date, the 24th of each month, okay? And the 24th in this particular month, which I'll just take a random month, happens to be December. And the 24th of December is a Tuesday. And you didn't get your rent. Can you go over there on Wednesday, the 25th of December, with a 3-day notice, open the door as the kids are opening up the gifts underneath the tree, and can you serve a 3-day notice on Christmas Day? The answer is yes, you can. Should you? No. But legally you can. Okay,
I know the answer to the rest of this. Basically, if you come across a problem like this, you always have to default to calling you to take care of the issues.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we do answer all calls at no charge. Phones are busy, but we do answer calls at no charge. I'm going to leave you with one story that I probably told you 2 years ago, but you probably forgot it. And this story, it deals with a philanthropic landlord. Are you know?
No.
Okay, good. So it deals with a philanthropic landlord. Okay, gives a lot to charity. And he's walking on the beach one day, and he sees buried in the sand a lantern. And he picks it up and opens it up, and out comes a genie who says, "I've been stuck in this lantern for 1,000 years. And I'm so grateful, I'm going to grant you one wish, and one wish only." Well, being a philanthropic landlord, he says, "Okay, I wish for world peace." The genie looks at him and says, "There's about 7-8 billion people in the world, and that's kind of a tall order for one genie. Give me one more. He goes, "Okay, I wish for a cure for cancer." The genie looks at him and says, "The human body is somewhat intricate. And I'll be honest with you, I think it's above my skill level. Give me one more. I don't care what it is. I'm going to do it for you." He goes, "Okay, I'm a landlord. Let's do away with rent control." Genie looks at him and says, "Let's go back to that world peace one." Thank you very much, everybody. Oh, that's yours. Settle down.
All right. We just got a couple more before we close out the team meeting. Apologize. Thank you, Dennis Block. It's always good to see you.
Thank you so much, sir. You got my clicker?
Clicker's right there.
Oh, good.
So great information, right? Yeah. Peace of mind to understand. And, if you need some extras, You can leave some here, folders as well. Okay, so. All right, before we do the upcoming, I wanted to introduce you to one of our agents, Keiko. Keiko, if you want to come up here real quick, she wanted to provide you with some value on this delivery of farm fresh products. So this is Keiko, everyone.
I just got a great deal from this company, Farm Fresh. It's a farm to table program. What it is local California organic farms. They go to your home or office here in less than 3 days. And they give us a 20% discount on the first 5 orders. And if you are a happy client, once you're satisfied with our, our service, they are going to write $5 to KW Cares. So one happy, KW agent, we're gonna get $5 to KW Care. So it's a win-win solution. And also this company is not just like vegetables and foods company. They have like an organic chicken and sure. Organic chicken, grass-fed beef. They have all kinds of healthy snacks. And prices like, a lot cheaper than if you guys go Trader Joe's, it's cheaper than that. And quality is better than Whole Foods. So, and if you're not happy with any of them, they'll give you credit back. It's 100%, customer satisfactory. They want to guarantee you. So try them out. I'm here today, tomorrow, and Friday. This 20% discount is only good this week, but it's to you, your family, your friends, your loved one. Anyone can do it. And if you let me know their names, they're gonna write the $5 for each happy member. $5 per happy member to KW Cares.
Groceries? Is that what it is? Groceries?
Yeah, it's a grocery. I can give you, it's like organic pasta, coffee. They got got steak, all kinds of eggs, seeds. They got everything.
Only Los Angeles?
Oh no, Southern California, Northern California, Utah, Las Vegas, some parts of Florida. Yeah.
What's the name of the company?
It's called Farm Fresh Food.
Okay.
Yes.
And how do we access that?
I have the tablets, and I can do that
the website
too. But I give you the promo code. I have the promo code for this week, so come talk to me, Tom.
If you have any questions, just connect with Keiko after the meeting.
Yeah.
Beautiful, awesome. Thank you, Keiko. All right. All right, just a couple of reminders. We got Career Vision with John Morris, October 10th and 11th, the 30/60/90. Next slide. And on-site commercial lease training with Richard Rodriguez. He's going to be talking about prospecting process, scripts, opportunities, and compensation. Next slide. We have our CIAS live in person, October 16 and 17. It's the designation. And I'm assuming it's going to be here at the, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. here at the KW training.
And is that a French laundry shirt?
It's a nice picture, yeah. Like the shoes. All right, next slide. All right, just a quick reminder, Halloween event, Thursday, October 26th, 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. Westwood. Okay, we'll have, like we did last year, our Halloween contest. Okay, make sure to please RSVP. Okay, next slide. And then Financial Network Breakfast hosted by David Ashar in the KW Commercial SoCal. It's going to be at the Beverly Hills Porsche, 1101 Santa Monica, Los Angeles from 9 to 11. And that's going to be November 2nd. Okay. Some of the guest speakers that are going to be there. Save the date. Next slide. All right. Any needs and wants coming soon? Yes.
Meet soon in Newport Beach, 4-bedroom, 3.5 bath, 1864 square feet, beautiful rooftop deck. HOA is only $155, and it's going to go for $1.7.
Beautiful. All right. Awesome. Congrats. Yes, sir.
I have a lease listing on Bell Gardens, 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,000 square feet for $3,000. Bell Gardens.
Bell Gardens. Beautiful. All right. Yes.
Have a listing coming up Long Beach, on East Ocean, 2+2 condo and International Tower. That's gonna be around 6:30. Have another listing that's almost gonna be done in 3 weeks. 1250 East Ocean, Long Beach, that's also 650 at 2+2. Have a 2-line in Lakewood, it's gonna be 700 close to Lake Plainville. At 61 San Pedro, it's coming up on 13th Street. Have a complete tear down fixed rubber that we just got figured out. Have a 5512, no, sorry, 5521 plus 118 points over in Inglewood. And I have one, if everyone wants to go out there, I have a Palm Spring Adventure Beach. One plant to in south, within 10 miles map, and that'll be ready by next month. So if anyone has any interest in this.
Awesome. Thank you, Lamar. Anyone else? All right. I appreciate you all. Thank you for your patience. I know we went a little overboard, but I hope today's meeting was very valuable. So thank you. Thanks, Pat.
That's what I heard.
I'm sure you did.
That's what I heard. Okay.